Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 21 was the greatest chapter in the Boruto franchise. Y'all, in my spoiler videos, I did a discussion about the deaths that occurred within the chapter prior to the chapter release. So y'all already know how hyped I am about this chapter. So let's just run through the nitty and gritty of the chapter and let's just go through the consensus and see what we have there, right? So essentially we got the cover, and I'm gonna keep it a buck, I'm gonna keep it a bean, I'm gonna keep it 100%. This is probably my favorite cover chapter out of all 21 covers. And also the first chapter cover, or is it chapter 2 with Sarada in the brick wall? I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm not a big fan of that cover. I just don't like the way, I don't know, like the brick wall design is kind of cool. For some reason, if I stare at it too long, it kind of looks played out. And then it also, in that, I don't like the way her neck is bending in her first cover chapter. Like the volume, in volume 2, that's a hard cover. She got a very hard cover in volume 2. I think probably this is the best right now. Chapter 21 is her best cover picture. Volume 2 is her second. And then I would say chapter 2, because I ain't gonna lie, I'm not too big on that chapter 2 cover. The heat of the moment, it was tough. It was definitely there. But like this, with the little wild hair Sarada, obviously the Mangekyo flourishing, the headband on her head, and you see it's kind of falling down like a do-rag on the side. The emphasis on the jacket having a little bit too much space in there. It's like, it's a tough get. And then you see the Mangekyo power in the background. So essentially it's like a black hole which her power controls. We know that, we understand that Sarada has essentially the power to control gravity. So we open up the chapter through a series of flashbacks, but what's very important throughout these flashbacks is they're key important moments throughout Naruto Next Generation story, but from Sarada's point of view. So a lot of things like her promise and her talk with Chocho and Boruto and becoming Hokage, and her setting her goal for the future, her understanding that the truth that when Sumire admitted that other girls liking Boruto bothered Sumire, it's the truth of the matter that would bother Sarada too. But not only that, but the fact that Sumire having these feelings for Boruto also bothers Sarada. But all of these things we come to find out later on in the chapter she considered as weakness and essentially in the way of her goal to becoming Hokage. Now here, after Sarada finds out that Boruto essentially died at Kawaki's hands once, and she rushes to the scene prior to Kawaki giving Boruto the eye scene, right? The eye scar. We see what essentially is going on through her mind before she encounters Kawaki and before that whole entire thing goes on. And she has these insecurities that finally come to light, where if you look at all of the small details within the story, specifically regarding Sarada's character, it's easy to understand that there was probably a self-conscious and a self-confidence problem going along with Sarada in her come up, not necessarily because of her inability to produce results, as she's exclaiming throughout all of these calamities she's feeling so useless, but the mere fact that she herself is comparing herself, bro, to Naruto Uzumaki, Hokage Naruto at that, and big boss Sasuke Uchiha. So she's not mad, right? The development and the rapid growth that Boruto is undergoing, right? Things are just focusing around him, and it seems like she's being left behind, right? But she's not mad at like, oh, let's see how strong my other classmates. Like at the end of the day, we understand Boruto's generation ain't nobody really touching them like when it comes to Boruto, Sarada, Mitsuki. So her concerns are kind of out of reach, and it's understandable because it may seem like if you're a 12-year-old kid and looking up to Naruto, like, dang, I gotta start doing what he's doing or else I can't be Hokage. So it's really interesting to see how her perspective was coming up and how she perceived the dream of to become Hokage, right? And then we keep on moving forward past the omnipotence being granted, Sarada awakening her Mangekyo right in the moment where she is contemplating and understanding that all of these cruel things occurring time and time again. Why does it always have to be Boruto, right? And then we got the famous shot that we had in the leaks earlier with Boruto in the eye patch, all patched up right after him and Sasuke is leaving the village, and Sasuke is basically breaking it down. Sarada didn't know she woke in it, but the fact that she awoke in the Sharingan and understanding the history of the Sharingan, that's all the proof he needed to simply assist Boruto and make his way out the village, understanding that he's doing all of this only because of his daughter and because of what he saw in the power that she unlocked. Not only that, but once she actually realizes she has this power, it's gonna be a crazy use, and it's gonna be a crazy help for the greater good in the future to come, right? And that's basically what he explains. And now we see Sarada stay. There's so many iconic shots of Sarada throughout this chapter, right? And long story short is, with her right eye, her Mangekyo gives her the ability to control gravity. Long story short, now there's a lot she can do with this, just that, right? So we don't know if it's capped out or is max, but essentially she can create these 4 black holes, right? And control them to basically cover her blind spots and to encompass an area, or I could say a domain within the battlefield, where all gravity within that expanse of the black holes are controlled and manipulated at Sarada's will. So even essentially where we see Ryu, he's trying to attack her head on. He's trying to figure out what's going on essentially. Why is his attacks and his sand being absorbed and sucked in through these black holes? So he tries to go for her blind spot. And all Sarada has to do essentially at the time is look, right? Because Ryu doesn't know that there's more than one black hole at this point in time. But once she looks to the ground, to his attack oncoming, another black hole manifests behind her, and it begins to absorb the black sand. And then Ryu puts the pieces together. Okay, so they're essentially sucking up all of my attacks and changing the trajectory of wherever my attacks is flying to. And we see he sends massive waves of sand at Sarada, and I ain't gonna lie, I like the way the Iron Sand is always drawn, the way Ikimoto predicts it, just depicts it within the story. But he sends massive waves of attacks as Sarada doesn't even take a step this chapter, guys. Chat. All she does is float into the air, and this guy Ryu is decimated. She doesn't lift a finger, bro. So yeah. Getting back to the business, he starts to see, and then he realizes he's basically trapped in the entire battlefield. And Mitsuki is looking at everything going down, and he's like, bro, she's controlling the gravity, and she's able to affect whatever she wants, which is why he's telling Araya, me, you, and Yodo are not being affected, essentially, because she tells Mitsuki prior, she's like, yo, protect Araya and Yodo and defend yourself too. So maybe it's just in her nature, like, yeah, I ain't finna worry about this, Claw Arms. Mitsuki can handle it if time comes, you know what I'm saying, or if the situation even calls for it. But as we see, those Claw Arms are even worried about Ryu. They're like, bro, what, boss, where you going at? Why are you just all of a sudden in the sky? Like, you know what I'm saying? So Ryu can't control his body. He tries to anchor himself through the ground, but the gravity from the black hole gets stronger. And get this, chat, she's able to expand the black hole, and it completely engulfs this guy Ryu. And Sarada just sit in here aura farming throughout the entire chapter, like so many cold shots of her, and just coming to admit her feelings for Boruto, and admitting to accepting herself and understanding that she's not going to be running away no more. And already with this dialogue, with the monologue, with the aura farm, and with the brand new ability, which we haven't even seen his full capabilities yet, Sarada is by far top 5 within the verse strength wise. And I'm not saying she's 5, right? So shout out to my Cloud Ninjas. I already mentioned on the podcast that when it comes to all Shinju, because we already seen her completely decimate Ryu, I'm not going to argue with you if you say Sarada can beat Jura, but my stance is Sarada completely bodies any Shinju that isn't Jura. So if that's the case, she might be like, it's even scarier, because if Kawaki is still limited, he can't stand a chance. I'm only putting right now, I'm putting Damon, Jura, and Boruto over Sarada. That's it. I'm not going to lie. So she's top 5 and not 5. She's the 4th strongest in the verse in my book, with only half of her abilities. We gotta see what the left eye do. Possibly, can she even summon more black? Like, what if she's able to summon a never-ending amount of black holes, right? And she somehow manages to perfect her chakra control point, where she doesn't even exhaust her chakra using this power. But still, we gotta see the left eye ability, and then also we gotta see how much cracked and stronger her Susanoo manifestation will actually be. So Sarada has so much in the bag, bro. But get this, she completely atomizes this guy Ryu, because he's trying to attack time and time again, and he's listening to her talk, and all of his attacks are being absorbed by gravity, and then he finally gets absorbed by gravity. The spear actually expands, engulfs this guy, and completely implodes on him, right? Like a black sun, like a black hole imploding on itself, right? And Sarada finally gives this the full name with the amazing, probably the best shot in the chapter, Mangekyo Sharingan Ohirume. And then we see the note right here, the translation note on the for the Viz Media translation. Ohirume is a alternate name for Amaterasu, the sun goddess and chief deity of the Shinto pantheon, right? So he's getting engulfed by this black hole, and we see Ryu's final moments, right? As Sarada's looking down, her eye is bleeding. He completely turns into an atom like dust. He turns into nothingness, and you see how far up in the sky it's not simple levitation she's doing, bro. And we could see that she uses one of the spears to completely destroy this man, but still she's so far, like she can literally control her body in the air and fly through the manipulation of gravity, similar to how we see like Onoki do, or the Shichukage in the Hidden Stone Village do, right? They're controlling and manipulating gravity, but in this case she is able to actively control the push and pull, right? So kind of the manipulation control that we see Onoki have, but also the force control that we see Nagato and Pain has. So it's like, it's just crazy. It's broken. It's crazy out here. So Mitsuki saves the day, and we got the other queen out here, Ada, who's breaking it down between Kasha and Koji, and this is where the rift starts between Koji and Boruto, and we're gonna have to get into this. It's gonna get good moving into the future, seeing the dynamic shift between these two characters, right? And a lot of dialogue and great insights being held. So Ada is just giving it how it's being told. She's like, Ryu's destroyed, Yodo is dead, and that really sucks for Yodo. Now, once she starts to make a rebuttal on that, and Kasha Koji starts to give his stance and reasoning, and Boruto butts in, she starts to play the back seat, because she's like, oh, it's not like, it's getting you ever been in a situation where two people start arguing, and it's like, it's getting a little awkward now? You feel me? So she's like, okay, let me just stop talking. And Boruto's like, yo, if Sarada awakening her Mangekyo only possible with someone dying, like was Yodo's death a requirement? And Kasha Koji kind of avoids the answer, and he's like, bro, if you were to pull up, not only was Drew gonna kill you, but Sarada would have never awakened this ability, and this is an ability we extremely, like, crucially needed for not only this plan to go through, but for the future, right? So everybody's looking at the future when it comes to Sarada Sharingan. So that just lets me know, bro, like, yeah, the strongest Mangekyo Sharingan in the world. And I would say, man, look, the Rinnegan, Sasuke's Rinnegan is OP. I'm gonna say this, Boruto's Jogan is probably gonna be the strongest dojutsu. After which, I ain't gonna mad. I wouldn't be mad at someone saying Ada's Senringan. You know what I'm saying? Kawaki's dojutsu is pretty OP, but it's a simple usage. Sarada's dojutsu is like up there with crackness. Like, I ain't gonna lie, it's not too many dojutsus that can mess with hers in terms of being more OP than that Sharingan, right? But Kasha Koji is basically saying like he had to take any steps necessary to ensure Sarada would awaken his power, and Boruto wastes no time to pop up onto the battlefield. And I'm not even gonna stress to y'all know I do not care about Konohamaru, but he did not complete the job. He was on death's door against a 25% Shinju, bro. Like, she didn't even have a stomach. She didn't even have a chest. She had neck and face and 4 limbs, right? And she's forced to use two of those as legs and the other 2 as swords within Konohamaru. Like, bro, how'd you end off like almost decimating her with let me not. So Boruto pops up, right? After Kasha Koji's like, bro, Jiro will show up. He can sense everything through the Shinju. So there's no point of popping up to the battlefield. And Boruto showcases his amazing speed and strength, right? Because he pops up and it comes to everyone's attention. Oh, he used the flying Raijin Jutsu from the marker that Mitsuki had earlier. And from the moment he pops up, both Matsuri and Konohamaru notices him. But before Matsuri can even finish saying his name, and before Konohamaru can realize that Boruto is now in front of him and Matsuri is now dead, everybody is still reacting in a different way while Boruto is moving at astronomical speed. Like, she didn't get to finish his name, and he completely cuts her into a million Frieza pieces. And while all of this is going on, Konohamaru is still looking at the spot where Boruto first showed up. So that just shows you how fast this guy is actually moving. And Jura is about to make his actual move now. Now, I don't know if they're teasing this Boruto versus Jura thing, or is it actually going to unfold within the next chapter. But what I can say for sure is Boruto chapter 21 was my favorite chapter, hands down. Mangekyo Gang, bro. It's titled Mangekyo Sharingan. So why wouldn't it be my favorite chapter? Like, yeah, come on, you feel me? I can't believe it, though. This girl Yodo is actually dead. I talked about it in the previous video. So it's going to be interesting to see how the reactions of the others go about it. If Ikimoto, now we have the full chapter out, it's a little bit more room for her to be alive still, but I think they are actually running with the whole entire thing of Yodo died, because there's too many confirmations without the chapter throughout. Kashin Koji confirming this is going to happen in many futures, where Yodo's sacrifice was the trigger for Sarada's reawakening of her Sharingan, and then Ada simply admitting that, yeah, it sucks for Yodo because now she's dead, and then Boruto understanding that, okay, did Yodo have to die in order for this to happen? So it's so many confirmations that she is dead. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sarada handles this toll and weight on her, knowing that she possibly could have used this power before to save Yodo's life. And would Yodo become some sort of a remembrance for Sarada, like an anchor to hold and to cherish in her heart moving forward, understanding that she's the reason, not sole reason, but the reason why she's able to accept herself and to come into the true power that she knows she is able to wield. But Boruto, bro, he pulls up like a superhero, right? After the first superhero just does her job, Boruto pulls up, back up, and he's like, yeah, let me slice and dice. Matsuri is really like, bro, he no dipped her. He really no dip. Boruto is a different breed, bro. It's a really Ikimoto had to really show us, like, I don't think we've seen even full strength of Boruto and what he himself is capable of doing. I'm not even talking about Karmasil and Jogan edition. I'm just talking about Boruto himself. So I'm excited. Possibly, do y'all think Joro will pull up? But let me know how y'all feel about the Mangekyo Sharingan reawakening its debut, and how y'all feel about the Queen Sarada. It's your boy Black Chia. Long face, skinny body. Holla at your boy. Boruto chapter 21, hands down the best chapter out. Until my next video, holla at your mama, holla at y'all, Black Child. Yes, sir. Ski.